Picture this. 300,000 years ago, somewhere in Africa, a guy named Grug, and yes, we're naming him Grug, is sitting next to the most important thing his species has ever encountered. Fire. Warm, beautiful, hypnotic fire. He didn't invent it. He found it. Lightning hit a tree and Grug, instead of running like every other sensible animal on the planet, walked toward it. That single moment of terrible curiosity is the reason you exist. You're welcome, Grug.
Now Grug didn't keep this discovery to himself, because humans are fundamentally social creatures. Or more accurately, Grug was terrified of the dark and needed backup. He ran back to the tribe and did what any ancient hype man would do. Pointed, grunted, and looked extremely proud of something he didn't actually do. The tribe gathered, eyes wide, mouths open. Someone definitely poked it. Someone else definitely got burned.
And just like that, humanity's first group chat was formed around a campfire. Chaotic, warm, and full of people who didn't listen to warnings. Here's where it gets interesting. And by interesting, we mean civilization-alteringly insane. Fire meant cooked food, which meant softer food, which meant smaller jaws, which meant energy redirected to the brain. Grug's tribe started getting smarter just by eating steak instead of raw mammoth. They could stay warm through winters that would have killed them before. They could see predators coming at night. They could tell stories. For the first time in history, a group of humans sat in a circle and genuinely had things to talk about, which, if you've ever been to a bad dinner party, you understand is revolutionary. But here's what nobody talks about. With intelligence comes awareness. With awareness comes comparison. And with comparison comes the most human emotion ever invented. He got more than me. See, someone had to be in charge of the fire. Someone had to feed it, protect it, keep it alive through the night. And almost immediately, that person realized they had power. If you control the warmth, you control the tribe. Meet Korg. Korg figured this out in about 4 days. Korg was, historically speaking, the first middle manager. Korg started doing things subtly at first. Sitting closest to the fire. Deciding who got to add wood and who didn't. Giving the best spots to his friends. Let's call them proto-nepotism. The tribe noticed something felt off but couldn't quite name it, because the word unfair hadn't been invented yet. Only the feeling. Deep, burning prehistoric unfairness sitting right there in their chest next to the mammoth ribs they'd been given slightly less of. Korg smiled a lot. Korg was dangerous. Korg had discovered that generosity, performed publicly, is just power in a friendlier costume. Grug, our original guy, watched all of this with the dawning horror of someone realizing the thing they shared is now being used against them. He found the fire. He brought everyone together. And now Korg was acting like he invented the sun. This is the first recorded experience of a founder being pushed out of his own company. Except the company was survival, and the board was a group of people holding sticks. Grug sat at the edge of the warmth, just slightly too far, and felt something ancient and new at the same time. Something with no name yet. We'd eventually call it betrayal. Here's the wild part. That feeling, that specific cocktail of confusion, injustice, and wounded trust. It didn't destroy the tribe. It organized it. Because Grug talked. He grunted and gestured and communicated his grievance to others, and others nodded, because they'd felt it too. Suddenly, there were alliances, negotiations, proto-politics. Rules started forming. Not written, not spoken eloquently, but felt. You don't take more than your share. You don't abuse the fire. Ethics, ladies and gentlemen, was born not from philosophy, but from one guy being greedy next to a campfire 300,000 years ago. So the tribe held what we can only describe as the first meeting in human history. Everyone sat in a circle, ironically, around the fire, and Grug made his case. With grunts, with dramatic pointing, with what we have to assume was extraordinary charisma for someone whose vocabulary was roughly 40 sounds. Korg defended himself, also with grunts, but his were smoother, more confident. Korg had been practicing his grunts, which means Korg also invented public speaking as a manipulation tool, which checks out historically. The tribe deliberated, and then, in a moment of collective moral clarity, they told Korg to share the fire equally or sleep outside. The fire didn't just cook their food or scare away predators.
It created the first shared space where humans had to negotiate reality together. Around that fire, roles emerged: the storyteller, the protector, the healer, the schemer. Every character type you've ever seen in a movie or a workplace existed in prototype form around that original flame. The hero, the villain, the guy who just wanted to eat and go to sleep, the person who somehow made everything about themselves. Fire didn't just warm their bodies, it lit up the social complexity inside their minds and said, "Good luck, you're going to need it." Korg, for what it's worth, never really changed. He just got more sophisticated. Over hundreds of thousands of years, Korg's descendants built palaces, wrote tax codes, invented bureaucracy, and designed office layouts where some desks are near windows and others face the printer. The specific techniques evolved, but the energy remained identical. Sit close to the warmth, control who else gets to sit there, and smile while you do it. The remarkable thing isn't that Korg existed. The remarkable thing is that every generation identifies him instantly, names him differently, and somehow still ends up in a meeting he called where he takes credit for the fire. Grug, however, Grug is who we actually became. Not perfectly, not consistently, but directionally. The part of us that runs toward the burning tree out of curiosity rather than fear. The part that shares the discovery before thinking about owning it. The part that sits at the edge of the warmth and feels wronged and then, instead of plotting in silence, says something. Grug is every whistleblower, every kid who says, "That's not fair" on a playground, every person in a meeting who says, "Wait, shouldn't we all have access to this?" Grug didn't start civilization by finding fire. He started it by expecting it to be shared. The funniest and most devastating thing about the discovery of fire is that it solved every problem early humans had: cold, darkness, predators, raw food, and immediately created a brand new category of problem that no other animal had ever experienced: each other. Lions don't form factions, wolves don't gaslight the pack. But humans, the moment they had warmth and safety and time to think, looked around at one another and thought, "How is this being divided, and is my share correct?" Consciousness is extraordinary. Consciousness next to someone who got a bigger piece of mammoth is something else entirely. So the next time you feel that specific feeling, that sharp little sting when someone takes credit, or moves the goalposts, or sits a little too close to the metaphorical fire, know that you are participating in a 300,000-year-old tradition. You are Grug. You found something real. You shared it. And now you're recalibrating your trust in real time, exactly like your ancestors did. The discovery of fire was the discovery of warmth. But the day ancient humans discovered betrayal was the day they discovered each other. Fully, messily, and irreversibly. Subscribe for more ancient drama. Grug would have wanted you to.